you're angry.
I was probably angry at him, yes.
I slept with multiple people and attempted to sleep with a fourth.
How do you know this, Miss Taylor? You've admitted that you were with both men for at least the span of a month's time.
And that's a secret that I held in me because I just felt like it's none of their business. I'm single.
So you really had your eyes on your gay best friend. This is the guy you really wanted.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you get to this night, you said, come on over, I'm a little Netflix and chill.
It's not every day you get to see your best friend stab you in the back. Ms. Damon was very certain that her boyfriend was the biological father of her 6-month-old daughter. But she had a lot of proving to do because the allegations that were levied against her for cheating were outrageous, and she was about to lose her relationship.
Ms. Damon, you claim you are certain that your boyfriend is the father of your 6-month-old daughter, Paisley. Recent allegations of cheating have caused a strain on your relationship. You're hoping that today's paternity results will help you save your family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Damon wasn't going to beat around the bush. For her, it didn't feel like they were in love anymore. She even referred to their living condition as that of roommates and not that of couples. The reason for their messy situation was the doubt surrounding the paternity of the child, even though they never liked to speak about it.
We're living like roommates.
Really?
Yes.
So
We're
it's
not living
affected
like
the
a couple.
relationship
Yes.
that much?
Yes, Your Honor. We both have this doubt in the back of our mind. We don't speak of it, but it's there. We know it. I found out that I was pregnant. I told him, and we just both had like a look of fear in our eyes. Like, what did we do?
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was waiting for you to say, and at that moment we were so happy.
No.
You had a look of fear.
When Ms. Damon found out she was pregnant, there was no excitement whatever between her and Mr. Osborne. A day before she found out she was pregnant, Mr. Osborne received a text message from Ms. Damon's best friend informing him that the baby could possibly have another father. Trust me, that was a message he didn't see coming.
Jillian might be pregnant, and she said it's another guy. Just thought I'd let you know. Also, she's been blank, guy 2, out in blank, and guy 3. But there are new people she's been blanking. So this is your best friend?
Ex-best friend.
After the bombshell from the text he received had been revealed, there was no way on earth he was going to be happy about Ms. Damon being pregnant. He found that his girlfriend had been messing around with 3 other guys he didn't know of. Even with his doubts, he didn't just disappear. He wanted to be there for the child, as he grew up without a father.
Are you gonna be stupid and try to step up and raise another man's child, or just dip out and run?
So why didn't you? Why didn't you just run? Why didn't you just say, I can't do this?
There is a chance that she is my child, and I grew up without a dad, and I didn't want her to grow up without a father.
Ms. Damon denied all the accusations about her having a sexual relationship with 3 other men aside from her boyfriend. To her surprise, her best friend showed up in court, and the courtroom was about to be a battleground. Judge Lauren was determined to get the truth out of everyone, so she asked Ms. Damon's best friend to come in. Ms. Taylor, who happened to be her best friend, didn't spare Ms. Damon at all when she revealed all her secrets.
And these messages read, hate this stupid blank. That's referring to Mr. Oz. I'm about to wait till he falls asleep and go to another guy. You write back.
Really?
The next morning, did you go? She responds, yes, girl, I've been up all night. He's still sleeping.
As you would expect, all fingers were pointing at Ms. Damon. She had a lot of explaining to do, but her best friend just kept dropping more secrets. They got so bad that even the boyfriend got to find out things he had never heard before. One thing is for sure, though, Ms. Damon and Ms. Taylor are not going to be best friends after this.
You're angry.
I was probably angry at him, yes.
I know that you slept with multiple people and attempted to sleep with a fourth.
How do you know this, Miss Taylor?
I was there with her with one man.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
So you
What happened?
condoning her cheating on me?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, probably because you was doing the same thing.
I was faithful to my man, but I supported her cheating on you, very much so.
You just had to imagine what could have gone wrong between Ms. Damon and her best friend that would make her spill every single secret Ms. Damon had told her. With the way things were going, there was a high chance the relationship was coming to an end.
Every time she got a chance, she would go to one guy's house in particular, and if he didn't answer, there was another one, and then if he didn't answer, there was one that I helped her introduce her to, and then she would go to his house, and then there was another one that she attempted to sleep with, but he had a girlfriend already.
What in the world? What is going on here? You just ringing doorbells?
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Osborne, Ms. Damon, and her best friend. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth. Get ready Paternity, folks.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Osborne, you are the father. I can see how much that meant to you, Mr. Osborne.
This was a betrayal like no other between best friends, and somehow how Ms. Rose managed to find herself in the middle of the whole drama. She was in court to petition for a DNA test for two men, one of whom was her on and off boyfriend, and the second was her boyfriend's best friend. Mr. Jefferson, who happened to be the boyfriend, just wanted to know if the baby was his because he claimed he knew his girlfriend was a cheat.
Rose, you are asking the court for DNA tests on two men. Your on-again, off-again boyfriend, Mr. Jefferson, and his good friend, Mr. Power, who is waiting outside of the courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
Both men, you say, could possibly be the father of your 3-year-old son, Sire.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Rose, you're also suing Mr. Jefferson for $5,000 for defamation of character.
The only logical question to be asked was why Mr. Jefferson felt he couldn't be the father of the two kids in question. As you would have it, their relationship wasn't particularly the romantic type. While they claimed to be dating each other, they were also having separate relationships with people outside of their initial relationship.
When we first got together, we were dating several different people besides, I was with other girls besides her, and she was with other guys besides me when we first got together. And every time we would break up, she would go right with my friend, Michael Powers. And when she first got pregnant, we were both seeing other people at the time.
Okay.
You know? So
non-committed relationship.
yes, very non-committed relationship at first.
Ms. Rose admitted that there was actually a time when she was in a sexual relationship with both Mr. Jefferson and his best friend. After having a sexual relationship with both men for over a month, she decided to take things seriously with Mr. Jefferson. The big question now was, did she really end things with the best friend?
There was a point where I was sleeping with both of them at the same time. And then later, that probably went on for a good month. And then I ended up, getting more serious with him. What happened is actually I stopped seeing Michael and committed to Kenneth. And then I ended up finding out I was pregnant about 2.5 weeks later.
With Sire.
With Sire, yes ma'am.
Mr. Jefferson began another story about how much Ms. Rose used to mean a lot to him. He claimed he would do anything for her because she was the love of his life. But then, even though she was so special to him, he noticed some behaviors she had that just didn't sit right with him. She was a waitress at a bar, and most of the time when she worked, she would flirt with men just to get a tip from them.
Once I committed to her and fell in love with her, my whole life was her. But she's always been a very flirtatious person. She's a waitress, and she has to flirt when she's a waitress to get tips, and I understand that. But
That's just my outgoing personality.
No, but I
don't have to flirt to get
that.
tips. What is that?
I understand that, but
Last time I heard, you just had to serve the table real well to get a good tip.
Ms. Rose wasn't denying the fact that her behavior could make any man get jealous and upset. She claimed Mr. Jefferson's form of jealousy was a little too above the edge for her liking. She even gave an instance where Mr. Jefferson embarrassed her at her place of work. He pulls up to her place of work and creates a scene that I feel he should even be ashamed of.
Manager comes and asks me, is that your van out there? And is that your husband sitting in your van with your kids? I go out there, I'm like, are you okay? What's wrong? Why are you sitting here? And he's like, oh, I know you're gonna sleep with that bartender, he's married. And yeah, I went back out there, I was like, please just leave. Like, the lady's gonna call the cops right now. I don't want the cops to come with my kids in the car. It's not cool anymore. Just go home. I'm fine, I'm working.
So you're watching her interact with these customers?
yes.
It was time to hear from the best friend that got them into this mess in the first place. Now Mr. Power, who happens to be Mr. Jefferson's best friend, walks into the courtroom and can't even make eye contact with his best friend. You could sense the level of betrayal between the both of them. But one thing was for sure though, Mr. Power felt really bad.
Well, Your Honor, I met Alicia at a bar. Within 2 hours, we were back at her house having unprotected sex. We hooked up multiple times. Some stuff you don't know, brother. She's just a bad person. I just.
That you keep sleeping with?
It takes two, brother.
It does. It does take two. It does take two. And I'm not saying that I'm innocent.
With the two men and Ms. Rose looking at each other in the courtroom, the only question left was to ask Ms. Rose if she was certain that the kids she was claiming to be for Mr. Jefferson were actually his. In her defense, she claimed she did the math, and she was quite sure that they belonged to him.
How much?
15.
15%. You got this, Jerome? 15%?
I know that my son is his. The calculations, like I'm a certified medical assistant, and I know that when your period, when you can get pregnant and like when you cannot, and I know like when everything was.
She was telling me the whole time, Your Honor, that I was the only possible father.
Well, it's high time we brought this paternity war zone to a close. It's been one tricky ride here, but all that suspense is about to be over. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth.
Mr. Jefferson, you are the father. Mr. Power, you are not.
Thank you.
The father.
God.
Mr. Jefferson, you are the father.
That's all I wanted to know.
Ms. Weir was in front of the judge to complain about how hard it has been raising her child without the help of his father. She claimed that she was very certain the defendant, who happened to be her best friend, was the father, and she didn't understand why he didn't want to accept the responsibility. Mr. Wilson, the best friend in the picture, claimed she was running out of options for a potential father, and she's trying to pin the baby on him.
You claim that after one night of passion with the defendant, you ended up pregnant, but he is now denying paternity of your 3-year-old son, Ayante. You opened your case to prove he is the father because you are tired of raising your son alone. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Weir started off her story by talking about how she and Mr. Wilson became friends. As she could recall, they had been friends for over 8 years, and she sometimes saw him as a brother. But that wasn't the mind-blowing thing about her story. She claimed Mr. Wilson was no ordinary best friend, but a gay one at that.
Years ago, just, passing through the city, I was going to hair school at the time, and, I would see him on my way to hair school. We would hang out with each other, potluck, he cooked something, I cooked something, bring it over to his house, or he come over to my house, long talks, this is my gay best friend,
Oh, your gay best friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Wislan wasn't denying the fact that he and Ms. Weir had an amazing friendship. They were fond of each other, always hanging out and going to parties. You could even say they were the real best friend goals. The big question on everyone's mind now was how they found themselves in such a situation after they claimed to be very good friends. Something had to have gone wrong somewhere.
We could hang out with each other, we had a good conversation, we like mutual things, and plus I met her in passing because she did hair. My gay best friend loved getting his hair done and doing all that type of stuff, so what I'm saying, we just pretty much crossed in passing whatever together.
And you were dating other people at this time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were really good friends?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so now take me to the night where things shifted.
It was storytelling time, and Ms. Weir took the floor to talk about how things went from having a normal best friend relationship to a sexual relationship with her gay best friend. As she could recall, they got really drunk, and this was where things escalated and turned into something else. Apparently, Ms. Weir had feelings for Mr. Wilson from the very beginning, but never told him.
He had came on over, we got to drinking, watching little movies or whatever, and I ain't gonna lie, I made a move, and he didn't push me away, so that was my reassurance. Okay, maybe he want this too.
So wait. So hold on, wait. Y'all done switched from the potluck to the potluck.
Yeah.
The storytelling gets a little tricky, and the truths start to come out of their hidden sports. Apparently, the idea of Mr. Wilson coming over to Ms. Weir's house was a plan orchestrated by Ms. Weir to trick Mr. Wilson into having a sexual experience with her. Mr. Wilson had no idea what was going to happen when he went to pay her a visit.
Yes, Your Honor. I just thought we were just gonna be chilling, like we always do, watch TV, drink, just do what we normally do. She kind of seduced me, we started drinking, I got intoxicated, one thing led to another.
She seduced you how?
Basically, after she got me drunk, she kind of started filling up on me and stuff, so, and then, it went from oral, then it just went from there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then the argument or the use of protection sprung up, and both Mr. Wilson and Ms. Weir were at lockheads trying to figure out if they used protection. Mr. Wilson claimed that he remembered himself putting on a condom before they kicked it in bed, but Ms. Weir smiled at him and said he didn't use protection, and she was very certain because he was very drunk.
Your Honor, I used the condom.
Mr. Wilson.
We're not,
Mr. Wilson, you did not.
I'm not gonna go there.
You did not.
Your Honor, I used the condom.
Your Honor,
I know what I put on me.
Use no condom.
I know what I put on me, Your Honor. She's done tested multiple people. She's just trying to pin the child on me. I love her and all because my godson, but this is not my child, Your Honor. This is just...
Your Honor, I don't play the pinning game. I don't do that. It's just not me.
Mr. Wilson definitely didn't want to be the father of the child, so he wasn't going to hold back on any truth in the courtroom. He told the judge that while they had a one-time sexual experience, was also having other sexual relationships with a couple of other men. To make things even worse, she wasn't using protection with the men she was having sex with.
Were you sexually
sexually active with the other men?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Were you using protection with those men?
Some I was.
Some?
Wow.
How many other men?
A lot of them, Your Honor. She don't even know.
How many? Say it loud and proud. You said you're a confident woman.
3.
3 other men besides Mr. Wilson.
And the ones
Yes,
that
Your
are
Honor.
tested, Your Honor.
All right.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Wilson and Ms. Weir. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are not the father.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, I'm sorry, and I don't want to be the bad guy or nothing. I love her, and I love my godson, but I'm glad that we just got this out the way and stuff now.
There was a lot of tension in the courtroom as regards this particular situation. A lot of hearts were broken, and all that was left was to determine who the father was. Mr. Pace was going to be devastated if he found that the results from the DNA were not in his favor. What was worse for him was the fact that his girlfriend cheated on him with his best friend.
Mr. Pace, you say you will be crushed today if DNA results reveal you are not the biological father of your son, Prince.
Yes, Your Honor.
You maintain that the defendant betrayed you by cheating with Prince's second possible father, your best friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Fobbs, you say you were caught between the man you're in love with and his best friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
For Mr. Pace, everything was at stake. He was going to lose 3 separate relationships if it turned out that he wasn't the father. The one he has with his girlfriend, the one he has with his best friend, and the relationship he had built with the child in question.
Well, what's at stake would be, I would say, 3 relationships. The relationship that I have with Ms. Fobbs, as well as the relationship that I have with Mr. Randolph, also the relationship that I have with Prince. So there is a lot on the line for me. That's my little man. We watch TV together, I'm feeding him cereal in the morning. He's like my real little buddy, and
The relationship between Mr. Pace and Ms. Fobbs started as a really beautiful one. They initially met in traffic, and he got her number from there. Before you know it, they went on a couple of dates and things kicked off from there. Anyone who heard the story would automatically wish they were the ones in such a situation. It was so beautiful to listen to. But then the dark days came.
we're actually had a conversation. I ended up getting her phone number. We went out on a few dates. We kind of bonded real quick. She ended up moving in with me and Mr. Randolph. Shortly after her moving in, she became pregnant. Once we found that out, being that she wanted her own space, we ended up moving into another spot together. And that's where I've been ever since, as far as in the relationship with her.
It was time for Ms. Fobbs to answer the allegations of how her cheating started. Apparently, she moved in with her boyfriend and his best friend, and that's where it all began. She claimed that the cheating escapade happened only once with Mr. Pace's best friend, and it was because he was always away at work.
I kind of took that as a feeling of neglect. The situation with me and Randolph was a mistake, a big mistake, the worst mistake I think I ever made, because I've never intentionally set out to hurt Byron in any way. I just want this to be okay. I want everything to stay the way it is. I don't want us to separate the situation or anything.
The magic question was finally asked, and everyone wanted to know how Ms. Fobbs ended up sleeping with Mr. Pace's best friend. Mr. Pace said was in a very heated argument with Ms. Fobbs when she dropped the bombshell on him.
That's interesting. We were actually in a heated argument at the time that it occurred, but it kind of just got blurted out to me that Mr. Randolph could be a potential father for Prince.
Wait a minute. So you're in a heated argument as a couple, and just out of the blue she yells, and by the way, your best friend could be Prince's father?
Prince was 2.5 at the time.
When Mr. Pace found out the atrocity that had occurred, he immediately went to his best friend to ask him point blank if he actually slept with Ms. Fobbs. Sadly, he didn't deny the accusation. Everyone in the courtroom couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that something like that happened.
Strangely enough, he did say it.
So, Mr. Randolph, I just have to ask, how could you sleep with your best friend's girl?
Well, to answer that, Your Honor, I wasn't in the right state of mind. We both was intoxicated. He was out promoting clubs, and she used to come home from the club intoxicated and, looking for him.
Now, Mr. Randolph, the best friend who could also be a potential father to Ms. Fobbs' child, submitted a picture of him and the child, claiming that there was a resemblance between him and the baby. But Ms. Fobbs said she couldn't see any type of resemblance when she looked at the picture.
And you think you look pretty much exactly alike?
Little characteristics, forehead maybe, mouth, but
When you look at this picture, Ms. Fobbs, do you see any resemblance?
No, I don't.
None.
None.
Do you see a resemblance to Mr. Pace?
Yeah, he looks like Byron. Martin,
What?
he looks like Randolph.
I see my nose a little.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of the child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Pace and Ms. Fobbs. Who is the father going to be?
Mr. Pace, you are not his father.
My bad, bro.
Oh, man.
So sorry.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
I'm so sorry.
As you all know, paternity court is unique for one particular thing, and that is basically to uncover the lies and deception that happen between couples and families. Ms. Davis was in court to prove that a man she had known for only 2 months was the father of her child. Mr. Ham, on the other hand, claimed she had 2 other boyfriends and was very certain he wasn't the father of her child.
Ms. Davis, you claim you got pregnant with Mr. Ham's child after knowing him for only 2 months. You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that Mr. Ham is the father of your 1-month-old baby, Jarrell Ham Jr. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're suing him for $1,500 for the cost of the baby shower gifts that you say Mr. Ham took from you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Diving straight into the drama between Ms. Davis and Mr. Ham. Mr. Ham was asked to explain why he felt he couldn't be the father of the child. The reply he gave blew the minds of everyone in the courtroom, believe me. He started by giving a little background history of how he met Ms. Davis.
When we switched numbers, we started talking on the phone within those same exact hours. So during that time, we agreed to meet up. When I'm thinking we meeting up, I'm thinking it's just gonna be me and Brandy. When I pull up to the lake after we agreed, that's where we agreed to go to the lake. When I pull up at the lake, she got a whole crowd of people surrounding her car. So as I get closer, Ms. Davis then comes and approaches my car. We start having a conversation. As me and Ms. Davis having a conversation, one of her female friends comes up to the car and say, well,
you honestly couldn't blame Mr. Ham for having the level of doubt he had about the paternity of the child. Trust me, Ms. Davis had 2 boyfriends while she was trying to get intimate with Mr. Ham. That wasn't even the craziest part of the story. Aside from having 2 boyfriends, she was also married.
More than one boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor, and she's married too, and she's still technically, she's not divorced, she's still technically married, and she had 2 boyfriends too. So this is why I'm in a point where, okay, this can't really be my child due to the fact she had all these boyfriends, and then at the end of the day, I come find she's married too, so I don't know what to believe.
At some point after you're at this lake and you start talking, you have a sexual relation.
Ms. Davis wasn't even denying the fact that Mr. Ham had the right to have doubts about the paternity of her child. I mean, she had 2 different boyfriends. She was married, and on top of all that, she had an unprotected sexual relationship with Mr. Davis. He claimed anytime Ms. Davis got drunk, she wanted to sleep with anyone she met.
So you do understand why Mr. Ham may have doubts?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay, good.
I do.
She already had boyfriends before she was even with me, and just like I say, when she get drunk, she's real sexual. When she get drunk, she gets so drunk that you can't.
You're right. I am.
If she was drunk right now, she would be passed out sleeping.
What's wrong with that?
TV.
What's wrong with that?
Now Ms. Davis starts showing symptoms of pregnancy, but in her mind, she just thinks she is sick. After finding out she was pregnant, she picked up her phone and tried to inform Mr. Ham about the pregnancy. She claimed he was very excited and wanted her to have the baby. So how did that exciting feeling turn to dust?
I called his phone and told him I was pregnant. He was at work. I went to his job and man was talking about it. He was happy, excited. Yes, I did. Went to your job. He was happy, excited.
So you felt like his reaction was that of excitement?
He was gonna be there. He was gonna help me out and do all this. Regardless of the fact that what went on in the past, he was gonna be there.
And I gave her my
for
word.
Me and my first son. I have 2 kids.
And due to the fact of what she was going through, I gave her my word as a man. And due to the fact that the situation with me and my father.
At one period, when they got into a heated argument, back when they were still having a sexual relationship, Ms. Davis outrightly told Mr. Ham that he wasn't the father of her child in front of his mom and aunt. It just kept going from bad to worse with these 2.
She told in front of my mother and auntie that this is not my child when the child was 4 weeks old.
I never did that.
She told this in front of my mother and auntie.
I never did that.
And the second time, when we was arguing in front of her at her mother's house.
I said to you out of anger. Out of anger, yes, Your Honor, I did say that twice.
And then the second time,
we argued, he make me mad. I'm like, you know.
All right, one at a time, I want to understand this. So you're saying, Mr. Ham, that in front of your family members, she says
I did not say
that I was not not the father of that
I
child.
said it to him in an argument.
It was a total disaster trying to figure out which of the men Ms. Davis was intimate with at several given periods. Now Judge Lauren was trying to figure out the exact guy she was sleeping with during her window of conception. Was it Mr. Ham or her boyfriend or even the husband she claimed to be divorced from? No one really knew.
And when was that?
I said at the beginning of July, around July 10th, around that time. That was the last time we had sex.
Ms. Davis, you're saying you were still sleeping with your boyfriend in July.
Yeah, yes, in the beginning.
And then you started sleeping with Mr. Ham in August or late July.
No, beginning of July. Beginning of July.
We had sex, the first time we had sex was the second day we met, and we was having sex on and on every day.
Their case was filled with nothing short of lies and deception. There was no going forward, and the judge could sense that. The only way to bring their drama to a close was to reveal the results of the DNA test. Who's it going to be, Mr. Ham? The boyfriend or her husband?
Mr. Ham, you are Jarrell's father.
Like I said, I don't have no problem with stepping up, but at the same time, I can't be in this child's life if she's trying to control me with this child.
It has been determined by this court that you are this child's biological father, which means as a father, you have rights. Listen, stop talking so much and listen. You have to take care of this baby financially, but you also will have the legal right to see the child.
In this case, Ms. Nichols was fed up with Mr. Young's behavior. All she wanted was for him to accept the baby and step up to his responsibilities as a father, because she claimed she had no doubt that he was the biological father to her 13-month-old baby. Mr. Young claimed she had been having funny business with another man outside her relationship and was already pregnant when they began their relationship.
Ms. Nichols, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Young, to court today because you say he denies he's the father of your 13-month-old daughter, Sine.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say it's time for him to step up and take responsibility.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Young, you say you refuse to accept Sine because you claim that Ms. Nichols was already pregnant when you began your relationship. Refuse to allow her to trap you with another man's baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, there was only one question Judge Lauren could ask Mr. Young, and that was why he had doubts about not being the father of her child. He started by saying she was trying to pin the baby on him because she was jealous that he moved on with his life and found a new girl who was way better than she was. But Ms. Nichols jumped out and called him a fat-ass liar.
Doesn't like the fact that I moved on and I have a new relationship, and she's all about getting money out of me. She knows that I was treating her good. She's been lying since the first time I met her, just making my life miserable.
Have you been making his life miserable, Ms. Nichols?
No, Your Honor, I have not. He started denying my daughter before his new relationship. He actually started denying her when I moved out of his house because he was cheating.
Really?
I've known Mr. Young for 19 years.
Now, Ms. Nichols was trying to tell the judge how she had known Mr. Young for years, and how when they saw it was almost as if she had met her soulmate. She sounded so convincing, trust me. One would even think she had never met any other man all her life. But Mr. Young was selling a different story. He claimed that Ms. Nichols stalked him throughout his previous relationship, and when she found out he was single, she tried to force her way into his life.
She hit me up on Facebook, talking about because she'd been trying to find me, and she been wanting to see me. And as soon as she came over, she was still on the same thing she was when I first met her, trying to get back in the bed with me like always.
Wow.
So there was no instant connection, like she said, Mr. Young?
I mean, no, there was no instant connection like that. I mean,
Your Honor,
I was getting out of a relationship, and then she hit me up like, hey, I want to come over, man. I ain't seen you in a long time.
These two were about to lock their heads in a brawl. Nobody seemed to want to agree with the other person. As the secrets and lies kept finding their way to the floors of the courtroom, Ms. Nichols claimed the first night she moved in with him, Mr. Young told her that he loved her, and that was the reason she never moved out of his house. But Mr. Young was waiting to drop his truth bomb.
He told me he loved me the first night that I was there. That's why I never left.
That's a lie. She didn't have nowhere to go because she was been evicted, and the guy she was staying with at the time was her sugar daddy.
I was not. No, he was not my sugar daddy, and I was not being evicted.
She was telling this sugar daddy man.
I could not afford that apartment by myself.
It was starting to feel like a competition between Mr. Young and Ms. Nichols. And when I say competition, I mean who could tell the best lies, because these two sure knew how to do just that. Now, Mr. Young wasn't particularly a saint in the situation. What he left out of his story was that he was also getting some sugar from the sugar daddy. Whatever money or favors the sugar daddy was doing for Ms. Nichols, he sure was having his share in the shadows.
You know, anything I called and asked this man for, he would come. If I needed a ride to work, because he couldn't take me. He couldn't provide me with no bus money or anything.
Hold on, so you got a little sugar from the sugar daddy too. Mr. Young, do you believe this sugar daddy is Sinead's father? Is that what you're asserting today in court?
She's the same color as him, and she looks like him.
Mr. Young was hell-bent on proving to everyone in the courtroom that she had been messing with several men. Mr. Young wasn't just saying she had been sleeping with the sugar daddy. There was a whole new accusation coming into the mix, and this time, he said she had another man whom she was having a sexual relationship with.
And what about the other guy? Were you sleeping with him too?
No, I had broke up with that man 2 years before he came along.
She said she broke up in a relationship. Don't you mess around with people?
But I was
sleeping with them.
broke up with him before I started messing with you, Sean.
So you was sleeping
He
with
was
them,
in jail. The man was in jail.
Yeah, okay.
I have not heard from this man.
Well, I heard from him constantly on Facebook telling me not to believe nothing you say, because you always sleeping around and you ain't never gonna stop messing with the sugar daddy. He himself told me that.
Let's jump right to the moment Ms. Nichols finds out she is pregnant. Well, there's a bit of a little twist as to how she found out she was pregnant. One cozy evening, when she and Mr. Young were all cuddled up in bed, Mr. Young noticed something different about how Mr. Nichols was looking. He did the maths, and boom, he told her she was pregnant.
He told me I was pregnant.
Really?
We were just sitting around and he just kept looking at me and I'm like, well, you know, what are you looking at? He was like, well, you're pregnant. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, I didn't believe I was pregnant. A couple days later, I went to the doctor and I was pregnant.
Did you believe it was your child then, Mr. Young?
At first I did, but then when I started looking at the dates when the baby was born, the dates don't add up. The baby was due in August. She had her at the end of May, so how can that be my baby?
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Young and Ms. Nichols. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth.
Mr. Young, you are her father.
Surprise, surprise.
And I see tears in your eyes because what do you feel in this
Because, like, his dad wasn't in his life. So he should know that how I would feel, how his mom felt. Break the cycle.
Now we know this is your biological daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You can't keep going on the way you going. This little girl is gonna grow up.
Just like the previous case, the man in this situation was claiming that the mother of a set of twins was trying to trap him with her kids. Ms. Mayo was in the courtroom to prove that Mr. Brown happens to be the father of her fraternal twins. Mr. Brown on the other side of the courtroom wasn't going to be the father of kids he claimed belonged to another man.
Ms. Mayo, you're here today because you filed a paternity suit against Mr. Brown, who you claim is your 2-month-old fraternal twins, Chloe and Carter's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say when today's results prove your case, you want him to pay you $1,000 for half of the child rearing expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Aside from suing Mr. Brown to prove that he was the father of her kids, she was also suing him for a sum of $1,500, which she claimed she had spent taking care of her twins. She was very upset that she had been the only one taking care of the kids, and Mr. Brown refused to help, knowing fully well that he was the father of her kids.
Everything they got from before I even had them, I have bought. Mr. Brown have bought not one thing that you can think of. Everything came out of my pocket, or my mom, or my dad.
Not one thing?
Not one thing. Nothing at all.
Mr. Brown, is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why is that?
Because I don't believe they my children.
I don't know why you feel like that, and you know they're yours, bro. I don't know why you feel like that, and you already know.
And now, the argument begins with Mr. Brown and Ms. Mayo yelling at the top of their voices. Ms. Mayo, still very upset, started to talk about how she wished she never met Mr. Brown and also wished she never got pregnant for him. I honestly wonder how they found themselves in such a messy situation.
Why was you messing with me?
Because at first we was friends. Why you putting on a show? Before any of this happened, we was friends. We was cordial. Like, I was doing stuff for you, you was doing stuff for me and my kids. One go right.
Right.
Say if it was Monday. If I didn't see him Monday, I knew for a fact I was gonna see him Tuesday.
Right.
From the first night when we had sex, we didn't use a condom.
So
Every
if she
day
seen
we
me,
had sex, we never used a
so
condom.
if she seen me Monday and she ain't see me Tuesday, that's a whole gap.
For them, it was all about having a good time without having any feelings attached. But Ms. Mayo didn't just settle for the fact that it was just a sexual relationship. She said they had been best friends for a really long time, and she didn't know why Mr. Brown was doing her dirty.
No, Donnie, we was friends. We been best of friends until Cedric really.
Best of friends?
Yes, we have been. Before all this happened, we was friends.
Man,
so
we
you
was
wasn't
friends.
helping me take
Okay.
care of my kids. The kids did
Yeah.
not. We weren't friends. Making
doing
sure
all-
I
I
got
was
to
doing
work.
all that,
Making
but-
sure this.
Wait a minute. He was helping you take care of your other kids?
Yes, making sure I got to work. Make sure I had gas in my truck. Make sure I had.
That sounds like you were a
make sure
couple
I
to
had
me.
The situation kept going from bad to worse in the courtroom, with both of them refusing to agree with one another. Mr. Brown even referred to it as a situationship, not a relationship. Moving on, Ms. Mayo finds out she's pregnant with his child and tries to reach out to him. What he does next would leave you speechless, trust me.
He left. He blocked me on
Okay,
everything.
okay.
Blocked me on Facebook. Blocked
Okay.
me on Instagram.
Okay,
removed
look,
everything.
can we take
Just
it
started
back?
talking to me.
I'm saying, can we
Just started
take?
to block
can
my
we-
mama. I wrote his mama on.
You blocked her mama too, Mr.
Yes.
Brown?
I wrote
All
his
that.
mama on Facebook.
All that.
He wrote back talking
All
about don't
that.
inbox my mama. But if I feel like your mama should have stepped up and said something.
I want to go back to the moment you told him.
Now, the lies started to pop out, and some secrets needed to be exposed. Mr. Brown already told her before they began their sexual adventures that he wanted no kids at all. He even said she presented him with so many documents that she claimed were from her doctors, indicating that it was impossible for her to get pregnant again.
That she would never have children again. So when she presented me with all this, I feel like I'm in a safety net. I got a safety zone. Like, okay, she can't have children.
Oh.
Right.
So she comes in with all this paperwork. Telling you, I can't have any children.
How she almost died having her last child, and he was never supposed to be here.
For Mr. Brown, there were so many reasons for his doubts, and his mind wasn't going to be changed by anything the judge said in that courtroom. He also claimed that the kids didn't look like him at all. He wasn't just saying that, trust me. He actually proceeded to prove that they didn't look like him.
When I first met her, she had sex with me on the first night. So how I'm supposed to view that? Come on.
So what is your doubt exactly?
They don't look like me, for one. I got very distinct features.
So come on, everybody in America knows that when newborns are born, they don't look like no one.
Can I go to?
They don't even look like me.
Can I go to the easel?
Oh, you have an exhibit?
Yes. Can I
Please
go to the
step
easel and show
over.
you?
Yes, I'd like to see it.
Well, it's finally time to unveil the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of reckoning is finally here, with everyone itching to know the truth. Are you ready to find out? I bet you are. So take a deep breath, because here it comes.
Mr. Brown, you are the father.
What you gonna do now?
Man, you know I'm gonna take care of my children, man. Come on, man.
We'll see.
Well, let me say this before we adjourn. Mr. Brown, these are your biological.
Yeah, I know that now.
All right, so you know that now for certain.
Yeah.
Because of that, you are required by law.
This revelation was one that Ms. Jones wasn't expecting to uncover in that courtroom. She discovers that there is a possibility that she could have another man as a father. The revelation shook the walls of Ms. Jones's heart and left her with so much confusion. Mr. Jones, on the other hand, believes that there is no chance on earth that he could be her biological father.
All right, so Ms. Jones, I need to start at the beginning. So what was it like growing up around Mr. Jones and his family?
Your Honor, I felt unwanted and lonely and invisible.
Wow. Take me there. What was it like for you as a little girl?
He was in and out my life, barely saw him.
The words she used to describe her life while growing up were unwanted, neglected, and invisible. She couldn't even remember spending any quality time with Mr. Jones, which then begs the question, was he really her father?
But you barely saw him?
Yes.
Was in and out your life?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you remember quality time you spent with him?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones, Miss Jones is saying she grew up with you in and out of her life. Were you involved at all?
Yes, Your Honor, I was. Matter of fact, Your Honor, the problem was, Your Honor, that I never felt that.
Mr. Jones was so certain that she was not his child. On several occasions, he had fights with her mother about the paternity of Ms. Jones, but her mother was very insistent on the fact that she knew he was the father. He even said her mom was the one who didn't want to get the DNA test done to determine who the real father was.
To have a test done when she was little.
Yeah, but my mom told me that you said you didn't have the money for it.
No, that's not true. At first I didn't, but I went to the hospital and I got there, and Terry knows that Ms. Brittingham knew that when we got to the hospital, I was there to get this test done then.
And what happened?
I was standing up in the line to wait to be waited on. I got there, there was a gentleman ahead of me. Then when he moved, I stepped up and I turned around and looked.
The conversation about the use of protection while in a sexual relationship comes up, and Mr. Jones and Ms. Jones's mother get into a brawl. There was no going forward with these two because they just couldn't agree on anything.
My mom told me you didn't use protection at all.
That's not true. I did. And
When
you know
did you use protection? I'm sorry, Your Honor. But when did you use protection? I don't remember you
yes,
using
I
no
did, Terry,
protection.
and you knew I did.
No, I didn't either.
Your Honor, I used protection.
Now, what I don't understand is how can two people have completely different accounts of every sexual encounter?
The stories were starting to sound very confusing in the courtroom. Mr. Jones had apparently been paying for child support all these years. His name was even written and signed on Ms. Jones's birth certificate. I mean, it couldn't have been forged, or could it?
If this was the case, if I'm to be her father, which I paid for her for all the many years.
So you've been paying child support all these years?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Are
Yes,
you on
I
the
have.
birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor, he is on the birth certificate. I have a copy right here if you'd like to see that.
Jerome, please hand me that evidence. So take me back a little bit, Miss Brittingham. So you were still in a relationship with Mr. Jones?
Yes.
No, Your Honor, that's not correct.
The genesis of this paternity crisis was that Mr. Jones felt Ms. Jones's mother was not honest with him when she gave birth to the child. He claimed that when she was asked who the father of the child was, she initially hesitated and then went on to call his name. Has Ms. Jones's mother been seeing other men?
Well, what happened is, then all of a sudden she hesitated, and then she said Jerome Jones.
What you felt like all these years was that she wasn't completely honest during that time.
Exactly.
And you've paid support all these years.
Yes, I have.
You have evidence that
Yes,
you brought?
I do. It's right here, Your Honor.
Jerome, please hand me the evidence.
And it's 2 years on here. It's 2 years missing. That's not there.
This is where things start to get out of hand. Mr. Jones presented his evidence, showing how involved he had been in Ms. Jones's life. Mr. Jones had paid over $50,000 in child support. Now that's a lot of money going into child support for a child you claim not to be yours, wouldn't you say?
Didn't go back that far because my company was sold.
You're saying you've paid close to $50,000 in child support
Pretty close.
for a child that you 100% believe is not yours.
Absolutely. I'm sorry she has to go through this today because I still love her just like she is my child.
No.
And as
So
far as her,
wait.
and
I
as
don't
far as her
really
not,
feel like
and
that.
as far as,
I don't
as
feel
far
like
as her
that
not
at all.
coming to my house, that was her choice. That wasn't my choice.
Mr. Jones's story started to have some serious twists and turns. Ms. Jones was tired of hearing him speak, so she decided to open up once again. Mr. Jones didn't tell anyone she was his daughter. Whenever they went to gatherings, people would often ask who Ms. Jones was because Mr. Jones never mentioned he had a daughter.
I didn't, who's this? And you said, it's my daughter. I was like, oh, I didn't know you had a daughter.
You told me that?
No, you said that to them.
No, that's not true.
No, what was
No.
said was they would say they didn't know he had a daughter.
Yeah.
And you would say that this was your daughter, and they said, oh, I didn't know you had a daughter.
Why would I say that?
Ms. Brittingham, I need to ask you, I mean, because he's paid the support, I got documentation.
Well, it's finally time to unveil the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of reckoning is finally here, with everyone itching to know the truth. Are you ready to find out? I bet you are. So take a deep breath, because here it comes.
Mr. Jones, you are not Lakeisha's father.
So now you know. That's all right, because you'll always be my baby.
Ms. Jones, please sit down. I know that's not the news you wanted. Are you okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
We say in this courtroom all the time, it takes DNA to be a father, but it takes love to be a daddy.
Mr. Mason has been on paternity court before, and in that appearance, he proved that the defendant's 1-year-old daughter was not his child. He is here again questioning the paternity of the same defendant's 5-year-old son, Ace. Ms. Malone is certain that Ace is Mr. Mason's child and plans to prove it today.
Mr. Mason, tell me why you are here for the second time again in court.
I'm here for the second time, Your Honor, because I feel like still that Ace is not my child. I feel like that it's impossible to get a DNA for a child that's unborn just from a swab of the mother.
Ms. Malone had previously given Mr. Mason a prenatal DNA test that proved that Ace belonged to him. However, Mr. Mason thinks that pure witchery and it's scientifically impossible to get a DNA test done on a child that is yet to be born. I am not quite sure the scientific community agrees with that, but Mr. Mason is the one in court here, so we will let him talk his talk.
I'm listening to your case because I want to understand why you don't believe the results. So I ordered a new paternity test just for you. So you believe that the mother was swabbed and it's impossible to tell the DNA or the paternity of an unborn child?
Yes, Your Honor.
What other reason do you have?
Every time I held Ace, it's like all he did was just cry.
Mr. Mason says when he looks at Ace, he does not see himself, and there is no connection with him. That may be true, but it is certainly not evidence that Ace is not his child. Some kids don't even look like either parent. Now, Mr. Mason thinks that the child belongs to Miss Malone's fiancé, Mr. Haynes.
Mr. Haynes is Ace's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe Mr. Haynes is the father.
Why?
Because when I'm over there visiting my other kids with Miss Malone, she'll
feels like
she'll
that
have
they got a
Ace,
bond.
Ace will be crying, and first person she'll give them to is Mr. Haynes. She'll be like, go to your daddy. If I was Ace's father.
So a lot is going on here. Ms. Malone does not treat Mr. Mason as her son's father, but she insists that this is because Mr. Mason does not want to be the father of the child. Well, that is one argument the results of a DNA test can clear up quickly. Mr. Malone says there is no chance that Mr. Haynes is Ace's father because she met him after she was pregnant, but Mr. Mason does not believe that.
You didn't even know her when she was pregnant.
No.
Never known anything about each other.
So you don't believe that to be true, Mr. Mason?
No, ma'am. I feel like...
Why don't you believe it?
Because if that was the case, Your Honor, when I was in the hospital when she gave birth to Ace, she had put my name on the birth certificate.
However, Ms. Malone claims that Mr. Mason was never on the real birth certificate, and that the certificate Mr. Mason presented is a dud since it's not an official one. She says that nobody signed to be Ace's father on his actual birth certificate, and the boy legally has no father. But here is the thing. If Ms. Malone was so sure that Mr. Mason was the real father, why didn't she put his name on the certificate?
Put somebody else's name
He
in
wasn't
that.
acting like one. Mr. Haynes acted like more of a father than Mr. Mason did. He was there.
So you're saying it was a statement that this is the man that's acting like Ace's real father?
Yes, ma'am. And he act like he didn't want it. Be on the birth certificate. So
Mr. Mason says he has never been given the chance to be a father to Ace, but Ms. Malone and Mr. Haynes disagree.
Lately gave me the chance at
Hold
all.
on, technically she
At
has
all.
gave him the chance. He never
She's
picked up
never
Ace when he
gave me
ever
the
came,
chance.
whenever he came
whenever
over.
he came and
Whenever he
visit,
came over,
it was always about my
since,
2-year-old.
ever since she's been with Mr. Haynes, it's always just been about her and Mr. Haynes.
Well, that kind of sounds like the truth. Mr. Mason's reasons for thinking the child is not his simply do not add up. The fact that she claims she did a DNA test for the child in the womb and he refused the results is another large red flag. If she really did the test, then this case has been solved a long while ago. However, Mr. Mason has one more reason for believing Ace is not his.
Even when we was in the hospital before Ace was even born, she was sending ultrasound pictures
No, I
to
was not, Your
another
Honor.
person.
I do not recall that.
You were sending pictures to another person.
I do not recall that.
And this is before Ace was born or after?
It was before.
Ms. Malone completely denies doing this, but Mr. Mason insists it's the truth. Well, it is time to see who the father is by checking out the DNA test.
Mr. Mason, you are the father. Again.
That's your son. You need to just start taking care of your son.
And I'm
Start
going
bonding
the
with your
same-
son.
The same way I do with the other two.
Okay.
The same way I do with
And
the
I
other
hold you
two.
to that.
That means my name
And I
got to
hold
go
you
on
to
that
that.
birth certificate and his name's coming off tomorrow.
No problem.
Ms. Hoddle says that she broke up with Mr. Andrews just 3 months ago and is now petitioning the court to prove that he's the father of her child Amarella. Mr. Andrews, on the other hand, says that Ms. Hoddle is a serious cheater and he is sure that he isn't the father. But it turns out that Mr. Andrews might be the serial cheater here.
He pregnated another female while he was living with me. So I moved to Kansas and got away from him. We then started our relationship back, and I had planned on having another child with him. So I did get pregnant. Amarella came, and I think the doubts came because she looks different than our other child.
They have another child together, and Mr. Andrews refers to that child as his, but doesn't call Amarella his child. And Mr. Andrews has a bunch of reasons for doing this. In fact, he has a whole chart. That's right, our man means business.
It's gotta be his baby.
What did you read in them?
I let you have it anytime, and now you chicken, you're scared to come over.
Miss Hadel, is that what these text messages
No.
said?
I can't tell you word for word. It was
I know
sexual.
word for word.
I bet he does know word for word, but I don't, so I'm not going to disagree. But anyhow.
Was this a man you've been intimate with?
Oh, so now we are getting somewhere. Mr. Hoddle did in fact cheat on Mr. Andrews. Let's move on to the next piece of evidence.
You jumped out of the window at 3 a.m.
Correct.
Who jumped out the window?
She did.
I was trying to get free from him.
But see, the whole
He's
thing
crazy.
is, she leave the house every time. It's always when a private call come, or it's after 3 a.m. That's the only time he able to get away from his wife, so-called.
What?
It was that's it.
Wait a minute. So she gets a private call.
Right.
Then she leaves the house.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Ms. Hoddle says the reason why she jumped out the window was because Mr. Andrews was barricading her front door. You might ask where she was going at 3 a.m., and the answer would shock you.
I couldn't walk out my front door because he was barricading my front door.
Where were you going?
I was going to find comfort.
Guess she told you?
I already knew this.
So you got a smile on your face, but you're in paternity court.
I am. I would like for him to get this during the time that Amarella was conceived.
But hold on a minute, Ms. Hoddle. How are you a good woman and still flying out the window at 3 a.m. to find comfort?
On the phone with men, getting text messages, going out, finding comfort, flying out the window at 3 a.m.
This was after 7.5 years. Like, this stuff built up. It was more or less, you're doing this to me. I'm gonna do it back to you.
Listen, you all have been together on and off for 8 years.
However, Mr. Andrews isn't innocent either. During those 11 years, he's had 3 other kids outside the relationship. Not 1, not 2, but 3. But we aren't done with the reasons Mr. Andrews listed.
Found a condom
So at
in the
least
car.
I was using protection and it ain't no one else.
Do that. But she know I'm the one who take my daughter to daycare every morning. I'm the one get the dress, take daycare every morning. Little dirty people couldn't even take the condom and throw it away.
If you found a condom in the car.
So
Hey,
wait.
look, I showed you.
It was a dirty condom?
It was a dirty condom. It wasn't just a pack.
I don't agree with that because I didn't see it. He didn't show me nothing.
Well, I'm sure that makes a world of difference, right? And then we've got the last reason.
4 months ago, Ms. Hadel told me about 2 other potential fathers.
Correct.
Really?
and out of spite, she just go to running her mouth, and when she get mad, she'll tell on herself.
He's full of it. But
And
I apologize, Your Honor.
She told me 2 other men was daddy.
His mouth,
which
from the time I wake up in the morning till the time I go to sleep, does not stop, and all he does all damn day is talk.
Ms. Hoddle better hope that Mr. Andrews is the father of Amarella, because she's going to have to get used to finding that comfort. Ms. Hoddle says that Mr. Andrews was just listing off the names of men she had an affair with as the father of Amarella, and she just agreed with him because that was what he wanted to hear.
There is no potential. He's the only one. As I stated, May 2014, when I got with him again, as in let's work it out, we were planning to have a child because I wanted a boy. So why would I sleep around with other people if I'm in love with him and I'm trying to make it work?
No, you wasn't. You were in love with the other guy.
Okay. Ms. Hoddle and Mr. Andrews continue arguing, and even Judge Lake gets tired of it.
I know one thing. You all sound like you like 16 years old.
Trust me, I know.
Arguing back and forth, and you got these little beautiful children. Beautiful. And from what I'm saying, I don't even know how you have time to make babies because you don't stop talking. If you're doing this in here, I can only imagine what you're doing at home.
That's why he's not in my home no more.
That's why I left the home.
No, he would not leave.
It ain't just your home. It was mine too, fool.
And it somehow gets even worse. You could think Ms. Hoddle is a horrible person for cheating that many times, but Mr. Andrews is also quite the cheater as well.
So 8 months pregnant, I find out there's another female pregnant in the same town that we're living in. I'm about to give birth a month later. He was there, got to see this first child born out of whatever 6 or 7 children that he does have. This is the first child that he got to see born. So that was very special for him and me as well, having him there. He was there the whole pregnancy,
An affair while she was pregnant, and Mr. Andrews is serious about this.
Repeat that testimony.
I was getting text messages from guys.
You were?
She was.
Were you or was she?
She.
So you were looking at her phone
Yes.
and she was getting text messages from guys?
Yes, you are.
Saying what?
Where you at? Can I see you? The sexual things.
All this while she's pregnant?
Yep.
This is just too much. At this point, you kind of wish none of them were Amarella's parents because this is such a toxic union. Let's see what the DNA test results have to say about all of this.
Mr. Andrews, you are the father. You have tears in your eyes. How do you feel in this moment?
I love her regardless. It's my daughter's, so it didn't make me no difference if I was or wasn't. I just wanted to prove.
Oh, it didn't?
Yes, it did.
I'm tired of you talking in circles, Mr. Andrews.
Ms. Kiles is in court today to prove that Ms. Light's deceased son, James, is the father of her 14-month-old daughter, Eva. She says she knows that Ms. Lights is in pain due to the loss of her son, but says she is also in pain because her daughter has no link to his paternal family yet. Ms. Light, on the other hand, says that Ms. Kiles is a pathological liar, and as much as she would want a part of her son to remain, she does not trust that Ms. Kiles is telling the truth.
Miss Light isn't the only one that's hurt. I'm hurt too. That's my child's father. She wasn't a mistake. We planned her, and me and him was together. That was my boyfriend, and I loved him, he loved me, and he loved his daughter. We were his family, so I understand she's hurting, that's her son, but me and Ava are hurting too.
That is touching, but Ms. Lights does not believe a word out of Ms. Kiles' mouth. She says she loves Ava and has formed a bond with the child. She says her son was raising Ava, and if she wasn't with James, baby Ava was with her. But there is just one tiny little itty-bitty thing.
The doubt is still eating away at you.
It's killing me. It was just a lot going on. He came to me so many times, hurt after he moved her to Oklahoma and got everything furnished. Another man answered the phone and tried to claim to be Ava's father and be in her life now and all this other stuff.
That's why.
Oh, that is a lot. There has got to be something there. If another man is claiming the child even before she is born, you know there is trouble brewing. But Ms. Kiles insists that nothing like this ever happened. She is quite certain of this, actually.
Me and James never had any fights or arguments about any females, any males. I was hormonal. I was going through a lot. I was stressful. Our arguments never been about other people in our relationship.
And so why would he make this up with his mother? I mean, what motive would he have to?
Because he was mad because I wasn't letting him around me when I was pregnant with her.
So Ms. Kiles argues that James just made all of this up because she did not want to deal with him. That is a brave argument to make, especially if there is a chance that this child might belong to someone else. According to Ms. Light, Ms. Kiles kicked James out of her home when she got pregnant, which is sort of a weird thing to do to someone who is going to be your baby's daddy, right? But Ms. Kiles disagrees.
He got mad because I don't like everybody in my house. He brought some other guy with him to my house. I told him, I don't want anybody in my house. My child is, I'm irritated right now, and I have my 2-year-old here. I don't want anybody in my house. He furnished the house, he can bring whoever he wanted here. I said, no, you can't, just steal my house. My name is on the lease.
So Ms. Kiles claims that all the arguments she had with James were domestic and not really about any other man or woman getting in between them. Ms. Kiles then says that she did not call James for the birth of his child for the same reason, while Ms. Light insists that James would have wanted to be there. Ms. Light takes this as another indication that James did not believe the baby was his, while Ms. Kiles says he was absent because she didn't want him there. And then she drops this bombshell.
I decided to give Ava away to a family member, and she named Ava Skylar.
Why are we calling her Ava?
Because that's the name that me and James wanted to name her.
Okay.
She took her back to Chicago. A week later, I wanted my baby back. She didn't want to give her to me, so I had to call my mother to get her back.
And as you may expect, this sounds very, very suspicious to Ms. Light.
Not knowing his baby's biological name. Because my son had tatted on his face, Ava Jashay. My son would have told me something. My son would have got the baby's name changed if he had known.
We couldn't get her name changed because we were living in Oklahoma. They said we had to wait till she turned 1 year old to get her name changed. He died in May. Her birthday was in August.
This is very hard for Ms. Light to handle. The only way to get to the bottom of this is to figure out what the DNA test has for us and be thankful Judge Lake here has the results.
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Light and Skylar Ava is 99%. You are related.
Oh, thank you. We can do what we gotta do and get her name.
I'm very happy I could deliver this result today.
Thank you.
Ms. McIntyre is in court today, with her mom claiming that Mr. Wilson here catfished her and is now denying being the father of her 3-year-old son, Jayshawn. She says the only reason he has doubts is because he wants to live a single life. However, Mr. Wilson says that he has more evidence than the court has ever seen proving that Ms. McIntyre cheated on him numerous times, so he isn't her baby's father. First, let's talk a bit about this catfishing business.
You are not her son's father, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. McIntyre, how did this relationship begin?
We was talking on Facebook. He shared a couple of pictures with me. He shared a picture like this. I thought he was very cute. He said he was gonna take care of me and my daughter.
On Facebook, he was already gonna take care of you and your daughter?
Yeah, he sold me a dream.
If someone who's never seen you before starts making incredible promises on Facebook, you should probably avoid them. But Ms. McIntyre fell for Mr. Wilson's lies. And on the day she was eventually supposed to meet him, she found something else out.
So we finally wanted to meet up, and when he got off the bus, I seen this. He catfished me. I didn't know, I didn't expect this, no. I did not expect this getting off the bus, no. I wanted him to go back. I did not expect this at all. No, I did not.
Bring up that other picture.
From this picture to this picture, no, I did not, no.
Well, no buyer's remorse here, Ms. McIntyre. That's part of the risks of flirting on the internet. Now, despite Ms. McIntyre not getting the package she ordered, she still got into bed with Mr. Wilson. So she wasn't that disappointed with what he was bringing to the table. Anyway, Mr. Wilson says he has absolutely no need to catfish anyone.
Did you try to catfish her, Mr. Wilson?
No. Lies. All the way around. I'm sexy. Why I need to catfish somebody?
Right.
Is you serious? Okay, lies.
Really?
Really. You saw what you saw. You felt to go with what you wanted to see. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And then, bam, you found yourself in paternity court. That's just how it happens. Mr. Wilson says he isn't here to deny his baby, but he says he cannot trust McIntyre because she sleeps around so much. Ms. McIntyre says she's beyond certain he is, and here's her reason.
Ms. McIntyre, how certain are you that
100%.
Mr. Wilson is Jayshawn's father?
100% sure. Why would I want to claim him as my baby dad?
So wait, I need to understand, what in the world were you all doing? I mean, you meet on Facebook, you all get together. Did you decide to be girlfriend and boyfriend?
Let's skip to this evidence that Mr. Wilson says he has about Ms. McIntyre cheating. First, he says that Ms. McIntyre only called him to the hospital after she gave birth and that he wasn't there for the birth. Ms. McIntyre also didn't put his name on the birth certificate and didn't give Jayshawn Mr. Wilson's last name either.
Supposedly, I got texts that somebody that I personally knew face to face was messing around with Ms. McIntyre around the same time I was messing around with Ms. McIntyre.
So do you have that proof here?
Okay, then, hold on, not only that.
You have that proof here? No.
Not only that, though. My thing is this, not only that, I have called Ms. McIntyre in her phone.
Those are strong allegations. Mr. Wilson says he asked Ms. McIntyre if all of this was true, and she denied all of it. Then later she came around and said that she was offering those favors because she needed money. And that's when Mr. Wilson started super cheating.
I went hard for I put myself in bad situations for this girl right here. You feel me? So yeah, I was hurt. So I went out there, I was super cheating. You know what I'm saying? I served.
Yeah,
super
when
cheating.
you come back,
I was super cheating.
With every transies, right?
I was super cheating. You feel me?
You come back with 2 transies, right?
Super sleep. I was cheating with everybody.
Well, at least Mr. Wilson here is being honest. Anyway, Ms. McIntyre wants us to know that Mr. Wilson was doing it to anyone and everyone willing to lie down.
Anybody, to be honest with you, I'm gonna be real with you. Because at the point, I'm like, all right, this relationship ain't not going over.
Because super cheating.
Yeah, super. I'm gonna say super cheating.
It's elevated.
Yeah, I'm being honest with you. That was.
So you were just sleeping with anybody.
And everybody.
That's scary.
Anybody, boys, girls, whatever, transies, all that.
As long as you're happy, Mr. Wilson. As long as you're happy. But Mr. Wilson has even more evidence of impropriety from Ms. McIntyre.
Ms. McIntyre left me for like 4-5 months. She went MIA, unseen, unnoticed. Ms. McIntyre was nowhere to be found, so what I'm supposed to do?
What do you mean she was nowhere to be found?
When I say nowhere to be found, I mean...
I
tried to reach her. I tried to contact her.
I left because
I got no research, none of that.
That's the reason why I left him for the 4th. Yes, I did. I don't want to be bothered with that.
And yes, we finally got to the evidence that Mr. Wilson says he has. And that evidence is a board, a calendar, and stickers of ghosts. He's using those stickers to show us the months that Ms. McIntyre was missing in action. For some weird reason, this is supposed to prove that Jayshawn isn't his baby.
That's June. That's another time.
So like, the ghost means she's missing in action.
Missing in action. Nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found.
None of that.
Can't see her.
Can't see her.
Where were you staying?
I done moved on.
Where were you staying?
Found somebody else to be with.
Your ghost fell again.
His ghost is falling, Your Honor, and one is upside down. That should tell you something about him.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, that was spectacular. It made no sense, but it was spectacular. But let's see him make his point.
So, Jayshawn was born in October. Green, it says Ms. McIntyre conceives the baby. But you said when you first stepped up to your exhibit that you didn't think that you all really started having sex until after your birthday.
After my birthday, because we were still filling each other out. You know what I'm saying? We didn't know if we was going to be with each other, if we was just going to play around.
So you're saying if she's pregnant with your child, where in the world is she for 4 full months?
Well, I think we've seen enough. It's time to know for sure who's the father of Jayshawn. Is it Mr. Wilson here? Or has Ms. McIntyre been lying to us the whole time?
Mr. Wilson, you are his father.
Told you. Told
That's all
you.
I needed to know.
Told you ought to be ashamed.
That's all I needed to know.
You ought to be ashamed.
I needed to know that. That's my thing.
Mr. Charisma.
I needed to know that.
Hold on. We starting off wrong.
After being fooled into getting by a married man, Miss Brown was desperately standing in court to fight for the paternal fight of her daughter's blessing. The irony was that the man she trusted wasn't only denying her child, but also any recollection of being with her.
We were married. He lies, and he will lie and say that we wasn't, but we were. Right. He lies about everything, Your Honor.
Who married us?
Can I talk?
Can I see the paperwork?
Can I talk? What paperwork? I ripped it up.
Was the email?
I ripped it up. I'm not talking. Where were you? Where were you when I got married?
Yeah, ladies, take a breath. This is about a child. Streaming and blaming just prove nothing. Anyway, amid this mess, the judge was caught up in the fact that how Mr. Shenoster managed to get married to another woman while he was still married to the woman standing next to him.
Because he didn't have a wife. How does married to me at the time?
Me and Ms. Douglas was together, but we were not married. We were separated.
Take me to the beginning of your relationship with Mr. Shenoster. I want to understand it.
We met through a mutual friend, which we basically had a long distance type of relationship. We talked on the phone, we Facebooked, all of that.
Don't court, get married right after meeting on Facebook. Bad move, mommy. As it was clear how being this green had worked for the advantage of Smirk FaceCon, the couple had gotten married over the phone, which defendant denied, as in his word, Miss Brown seemed too fast for him.
I met her
Where
on
were
Facebook.
you?
We had inbox.
What?
We inboxed back and forth. Said, come down so we can meet. Okay? I caught the train, got off the train, got in the cab. So I called her because I was confused, like, where am I coming to? When I walked in, she said, here's your Abu. Abu is father. Talking to her 3 kids.
You heard Mr. Shenoster. The plaintiff had all of her children calling him their father. But this testimony didn't set too well with Mommy. The guy made some really insane remarks about the woman who was the mother of his potential child.
Your Honor, I did consider marriage.
Friends told me.
I did consider marriage with this young lady, right? But when I seen that, the only thing I could think about doing was going to get a bottle of Henny because it was on and popping now. That's it.
Now can I talk?
There wasn't nothing else going on. I was not going to marry.
Wow, aren't you so innocent getting tempted by a strange little girl? And I'm sure even though he wouldn't admit to giving in, there was something fishy part that Mr. Shenister was trying to hide with his loud babbling. And we all know that judges look past such things quite well.
Let's get some order. Mr. Shenoster, how long did this relationship last with Miss Brown?
48 hours.
Exactly. And you still lie. And when this
48 hours,
exactly,
Donna.
He lies about every single
I got there on a Friday, I left Sunday.
So, Mr. Shenoster, you said after that, that was the end of the relationship?
That was it. I never seen her again. I rarely spoke to her. I found out months and months later that she was pregnant.
You.
Any woman would be pushed to the edge when is treated like that. So Miss Brown kept shouting from the top of her lungs that her alleged father was nothing but conniving Alaire, who dumped her right after sleeping with her. After this, Judge asked the ore-eyed plaintiff about the pregnancy.
What was your response?
She was 6 months pregnant.
He said, congratulations, I was never 6 months pregnant. I was 6 weeks and 3 days. I sent ultrasound.
Your Honor, the other man that's in question was, if you recall earlier when I said I pulled up in the cab, that's one of the men that was on the step.
No, he wasn't.
When I left that Sunday, he was in the area. He was basically going in the house while I was coming out, leaving to go back to Philadelphia.
I didn't even meet him then.
And we all know how that revelation would have gone with Mir So Innocent. So as we had anticipated, Mr. Shenoster claimed that the other guy was the real father, cause he was on the profile picture of the plaintiff and there was no way that baby was his. Nonetheless, all of this was too much for his wife.
So, Miss Brown, has he seen Blessing?
Never seen her in person, never touched her, never kissed her, nothing. He treat my daughter like she's nothing, like she's the scum underneath her shoe. He wished death on my child, called her ugly.
What?
And then he wondered why when I finally talked to him, I have the hatred I have towards him. Because if you want to keep it between me, let's go there. I'm grown. I can handle that.
That running away made sense. Who would want to be part of such a mess, coming back to the other guy in the picture? The outraged woman told the court, just because Blessing's real father had refused to step up, her boyfriend was falling into the void.
2 days,
Come on.
nobody know me.
He was claiming her, Your Honor, until his wife told, well, she told me, she told him that he wasn't the father. But you're the man, you're the household.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Like, she told me to my...
She reached out to her and told her that we were willing.
She didn't reach out to me. I reached out to her.
Help with the baby.
So you say
she was with you.
So you say he accepted the baby?
He did.
I know all of this is a bit confusing, but the real shock bomb was still to come. It turns out that DefendNet was trying to fool Judge Lake by going round and round in circles, which never works. We won't ruin it by telling you. Let me show you.
Beautiful wife equals good-looking babies. I'm just saying I love you and thanks you. Miss Brown, you respond, I love you too. Why are you thanking me? Laugh out loud. Mr. Shenoster says, for carrying my child. You never married her.
I never married her.
So why you say good-looking husband?
I chose wrong. I chose my words unwisely.
You stuttering now.
Yeah, a little bit.
So let's just say, at this point, we know you lie.
With all of that on the plate, Judge, the judge was all ballistic in the courtroom, and the defendant were not ready to put his guard down either, which led him to act in a frenzy that Jerome had to calm him down.
This message just illuminates. Hold on, when your wife stood here and she testified to the fact over and over again that you all had established a marriage, that you all had had sex unprotected, and that this child was yours, you acted like this was the most far-fetched story she could have ever conjured up. Hold on, that she could have ever conjured up. Your wife clowned her.
Apart from lying and making such a fool of himself on national TV, Mr. Shenoster's doubts had some ground. That's why the judge wanted to give him a fair chance for that, and no matter how much one might deny it. But when such ambiguity calls for DNA results.
Mr. Shenoster, you are the father. That's your baby. That's a beautiful little girl. She deserves her daddy. Not somebody standing up talking about, she ain't mine, she ain't this. Innocent babies don't deserve that.
For some people, the very thought of their grandchildren is utter bliss. Unfortunately, Miss Jackson wasn't one of them. As the woman straight refused to accept a baby girl at any cost, FYI, such stubbornness never leads to good ends.
baby. That's a lie. I stated from day one, I do not believe this is my granddaughter. She first, if I can bring you into my reality.
I want to go in. Tell me what happened.
Okay, she came to my home with her mother and another family member. Let me remind you, this child was already 4 months old. I never even heard of this young lady.
Big Mama told the court that her son never had mentioned the defendant or anything about having a child with her, even though Miss Pickens was in love with more men at the conception time. Still, she was persistent that Miss Jackson Locke's son was the baby daddy.
When I met him, I had a boyfriend.
Exactly.
Me and the boy stopped.
So she also said she was a cheater. Hold on. Now, Miss Jackson, let her speak.
I'm sorry.
When you met her son,
yes,
you had a boyfriend.
Yes.
So somehow you get into a relationship with Miss Jackson's son.
Yes. Like, we wasn't in a relationship. We were just messing around.
Okay.
Me and her son was messing around every
And
day. Every day.
Listen.
Unprotected sex every day.
So they might have not been dating and all, but they were completely in each other's hair. However, it got revealed that after breaking up with the alleged father, the defendant chose to mess around with another guy, who was her first pick as daddy.
At the time your child was conceived, having sex with any other man. Okay, so Miss Jackson's son and
the boy who I was going with after him.
After him.
Yes.
And you thought he was the father at first.
Yes, sir.
The guy that was after Miss Jackson's son.
Yes.
Did you get a DNA test with him?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, seems like Markel changed her mind. But the question was, what brought such a change of heart? In Baby Mama's defense, it was Miss Jackson's son who kept pushing that he was the father. Did the plaintiff know about this?
Your Honor, I will agree.
So you think they look alike?
Yes, they do.
Your
They
Honor.
look just alike. That's her
My son
twin.
look like Sonia.
And no, he
Yes,
don't.
come
He
on.
don't
My son look more like her than he does
She
me.
said her son look like me.
No. Yes.
No.
Can you stand up and turn to the court?
No.
That look more like her.
Clearly, all of this wasn't convincing enough for the Grahams, for her child looked like her mommy and her family. Nonetheless, he kept mentioning that mommy had accepted the child. So when the judge implored the plaintiff for this, Miss Jackson went on like this.
After a relationship with this child, we got text messages that will even sit up here and say, I've never established a relationship. That child been to my house 3 times. If that's the case, Your Honor,
listen, we can either get this resolved or y'all can go on back home and act a fool in the street, because you're not going to act it up in here.
Judge has a point, acting like streets weren't going to help anyone. To find the truth, they had behaved civilly. That's why the judge asked Jerome to stand between both stands. So it was established that plaintiff had made no effort whatsoever to warm up for the child.
You're saying you didn't establish a relationship because you never truly believed this was your son's child, but the child has been to your house on several occasions.
3 occasions because my son wants to get her. There's no relationship and she
So you do acknowledge that your son felt like.
Yes, I will say that. I do not deny that at
So
all.
now walk me through your doubt. If your son says, Mama, I'm going to pick up my little girl.
Nickley further added that the scheming mother had even gone to the length of faking a pregnancy to nail her son as her man. Wow, an acquisition, isn't it? But the plaintiff kept pressing that. The not-so-real babies were twins, because the mother of real grandchilder was pregnant with twins.
Faking a pregnancy, stated she was pregnant with twins when she found out Aaliyah was pregnant, and come to find out that's a lie because her mother told me it was a lie. She acted like she was in the hospital when she really wasn't, Your Honor, and she gave me a bogus number stating that it was the hospital number and it went to a cell phone. What hospital have a voicemail?
You're saying she lied about a second pregnancy?
Yes, when she found out Aaliyah was pregnant.
Oh. Grim of jealousy is the reason that baby is in this wrangle? But who would put their own child's future in jeopardy just out of envy? I find that hard to buy anyway. Let's watch what happened next.
Because I told your son that I lied. Yes,
we
you
found
did.
out because we called the hospital and there was no such record.
Why did you lie?
Yes, I did lie because I was kind of hurt. I was hurt because at the time.
So you did it to get back at him?
Yes. Yes.
Then she said she had an abortion.
But you now have to understand why your credibility is about shot.
I know. So
okay, that's what I just want you to understand.
Yes.
Why another woman, another person, or a judge might not believe what you're saying.
Okay, now even I think that baby mama is just making the whole thing up. And the judge was mixed too. That's why the lake called Miss Pickens' mother, who also stood firm on the defendant's testimony. She even went to the length of accusing the grandma at the opposite podium.
Hair, eyes, she does look like this little boy done lived with me for about a month because his mother put him out.
Exactly. When he
didn't have nowhere to go. But I had a picture of Kevin, her, his little brother, and his dad.
Miss Dates even told the court how she herself confronted her daughter to make sure she wasn't pinning the child on the wrong guy. But Markel assured her mother that another possibility was not the father. That's why Sonia was standing in the courtroom defending her Miss Pickens.
And because she didn't have no features of this other guy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All
then
right.
when she told me, she never said Kevin. She said somebody else. Didn't have so Kevin came around, and that's when I started seeing her features. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, she do. She got
So
nappy
you
hair
went
like
off
him.
of the fact that you felt like they resemble. Okay.
The judge had listened to both sides with patience and had reminded them that this trial wasn't about them, but rather about the child. The good thing was that Miss Jackson came forward and claimed to take care of the child if DNA proved relatedness. Let's see if she keeps up her words.
Baby, Shaziah Pickens, Mrs. Jackson, you are not her grandmother.
Gotcha. Hold on. Thank you, God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Honest and straightforward, Mr. Buchanan was already duped twice in a paternity trap by two of his ex-girlfriends. Learning the truth the hard way, the baby daddy refuses to fall for the same thing again. Let's see if the third time is the charm or not.
DNA testing proved you were not the father, and you now doubt your girlfriend, Miss Stembridge's 6-month-old daughter, is yours. You state she is engaged in sexual affairs outside of the relationship, including with your former friend and roommate.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the judge started with the doubt part. Apparently, Newburn was sure that his girlfriend was floozy, and he even claimed that she had slept with one of his friends, and he found the bitter truth like this.
Jail under false pretenses. They had the wrong person. And while we was in the car, he had bought some food, and I said, I was eating it, and he was like, "Why are you eating all my food?" And I'm like, "I don't care." So I threw it in the back seat at him, and he's like, "I'm your girl while you're locked up."
Wait, I know it's a direct quote, but we gotta watch our language in the court.
Well, there goes the "I slept with your girl" comment rubbed in his face really hard. Prior to this information, Miss Stembridge herself had confessed about having a drink with her baby daddy's friend Cause. She was lonely with Mr. Buchanan being locked up.
All right? You don't drink. I don't care if it's a supermodel. You ain't drinking with somebody that's supposed to be my best friend. You had the right to say no, all right? If
So
it's
you
peer pressure-
blaming Miss Stembridge or you blaming your best friend?
I'm blaming her because she knew better. She knew better. He was single. I don't blame him for nothing. Single man do whatever he want. You
should've let me get you out of
She's
jail.
with somebody. She's with somebody.
Wow, isn't that little too much? You would just only blame your girlfriend like that. I know that's weird, but hold as there is more coming. And it got 2 words. Lehman drops. Well, it was the tonic to get the baby mama in the mood. And once he saw that, he went bananas.
Lay down, Avery. I ain't talking about no candy. I ain't talking about no candy. Look, she already knows. Look, I ain't talking about no candy.
2 shot glasses laying on the table.
When you walked in and you saw the drinks out, in your mind you thought she's drinking with him again, and she said that was only a one-time thing.
Okay, check it out. She told me about the beer. So when you picked me up, why didn't you fair warn me?
Baby mama claims that she got nothing to hide and she had been honest all the time with her man. However, after that, things just got worse between them as even his ex-girlfriend tried to warn him that this best friend was stabbing him in his back by sleeping with his woman. That's why the judge called her in to testify.
What exactly did you witness?
Did I witness when I walked in? When I walked in, all I saw was in the air.
Okay,
No, on his
let's
bed,
use
the
better
head of
language in
his
the court.
bed.
Let's
I'm
use
sorry.
better language in the court. You
sorry.
walked in and saw what?
Booty in the air.
Maybe
At the head of his bed.
reflection out mirror.
Look, better come up and show me.
Oh, woman is just a human hurricane. You saw how she entered with a bang. That is clear animosity there. While she was testifying, Miss McNeil used all sorts of non-court lang, which infuriated the baby mama. Both women showed no sympathy for each other, even though there was a baby involved in the mix.
This is the door to Eric's room. I walked in, standing right there.
Nope, that's a lie, Your Honor. Because I would have seen her. I ain't never seen this girl in my life.
You ain't never seen me in your life.
No, not other
That's
than
a lie.
pictures in his
Look,
phone.
look.
Pictures in his phone.
In his phone.
See, that's wrong.
Whatever the whiteness was proposing, the defendant begged to differ from it. According to her, such an incident never took place, but to make her case more stronger, Miss McNeil added the reference to the lemon drop. Yeah, I know, there it goes again.
I come in to Eric's room to come pick something up. All I saw, her head towards his closet and booty in the air.
No.
A liquor bottle right here on the counter. I took a shot myself. That was about, that's right.
While you were at it.
That's right.
Hey, what was you drinking, Heather? What was you drinking?
Lemon drop.
Thank
I ain't
you.
never had one.
No.
Ain't ain't never had one, but they good. They're good. I drink them now.
Okay, whatever that proves, because for me, it's just mindless to and fro. Anyway, the baby mama stood firm that the plaintiff and his ex-girlfriend were just making things up, and that Mr. Buchanan was the father of her baby girl.
Wow. I've never known Heather to never come over to Eric's house and not come in his bedroom.
That's right.
Every time when I was staying there, she's always came in his bedroom.
To show up at Eric's house. Ask him.
did.
I won't
You
call.
did.
Yeah, I
You did,
showed
though.
up one time and she was there. They wouldn't open the door. That's why she claimed she ain't never seen me.
Closed.
And then
The
when she
front
came,
door, they wouldn't let me in the house because you was in there.
Though the Mr. Check This Out loved his little girl and wanted to be the biological father, even Mommy claimed that he was a great father, and that if it was up to her, she wouldn't pick anyone else to father her beautiful baby girl, which we know most rightfully calls for the envelope.
Mr. Buchanan, you are her father.
Thank you.
That's a blessing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They ran out of lemon or you already.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's obvious that you're happy.
The same rodeo was up and running in this case as Mr. Scott appeared in Judge Lake's court to seek her help to uphold his reputation. He claimed that multiple women tried to pin their on him, and DNA results would prove that Ms. Crane was also one of those scammers.
You state many women, including the defendant, have dragged your reputation through the mud, claiming you are the father of their children.
Yes, sir.
You admit to having 6 kids by 3 different women,
Yes, Your Honor.
but state that the defendant is not mother number 4 with child number 7.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
However, the baby mama has her own set of allegations lined up. She claimed that the potential father was nothing more than a fraud who trapped her into having his baby while he was married to someone else.
It's not
You
true.
found out he was a
Not
married
true at all.
man.
She's been,
Yes,
she's
Your
been
Honor.
cheating the whole time.
Never.
Ms. Crane, you insist that Mr. Scott has never even offered you a dime
Never.
since your son was born. You're here to make a counterclaim against Mr. Scott in the amount of $5,000, the maximum allowed by this court.
It was revealed that both parties had their deceiving hats on, yet no one was willing to back off. The defendant spilled the beans of truth and claimed that Mr. Scott had been married for 9 years, but the plaintiff put on his armor like this.
Dealing with each other.
Yes.
means a
We was together.
relationship.
We was together. We was together. We was together. We
In
was
a
still spending the
committed
night.
relationship?
In a committed relationship.
But he was married. He just said you were in a committed relationship.
Yes, we was committed.
And you just said, Ms. Crane, that he was married.
Major negative. I've been a major negative. I've been divorced since December 9th, 2009.
I didn't know
She
about
knew I
none
had
of the
kids, though.
Enlighten me.
She knew I had kids.
Enlighten me. How did you?
So the woman said that when she confronted the man, she and his wife spat on the call. His spouse told her to get the baby aborted. Oh my. Why do people stoop so low?
The woman's house, and he actually picked up the phone. So the lady was like, well, who is this calling from Marcel? I said, well, I'm his baby mama, his girlfriend. He's like, well, how was that when I'm married for 9 years with him and he's right here? So Marcel hopped on the phone and cussed me out for calling. Then the lady
That's
was
true.
like,
That is
well, this is my husband, so she told me to get an abortion. So he was like, no, that's my son, and I'm never gonna have her give an abortion.
It seemed Mr. Scott was caught up in his web of lies. Still, he managed to wipe Ms. Crane's accusations and alleged that she brought his ex-wife's cousin into the picture. His doubts were on point.
About all of his kids, I didn't know he had no kids.
She lied because I got tattoos all over my body. I got all my kids' names on my neck, on my
That
back.
don't mean nothing.
Everywhere.
Your
She
Honor, I
knew
didn't
my
ask him
kids'
nothing
names.
about no tattoos.
No, well, you want to talk about tattoos? What about the dude's name tattooed on your body?
What
that
about
you said
it?
it was your brother's.
And?
But then come to find it's another dude that's holding the baby. You know what I mean?
Your
Come
Honor,
on.
if we were not together, we were not together at the time.
Wait a minute now, Mr.
Well, I'm not
Scott
on the
has
birth
some
certificate.
info I need to delve
Well,
into.
I'm not on the birth certificate.
You say
Wow. First messing around, then dating his ex-wife's cousin. Up next, it slipped that Mommy was the perpetrator behind all the doubts, as her sex life had been giving him the red flag like this.
She sees my ex-wife. They said, that's what they told me, that she put the cover over the baby's head so nobody could see the baby. And they asked, is that Marcel's baby? She said, nah. And then so she had to explain.
No, Your Honor.
She had to
Actually,
explain
what
to
happened
the
was
Let me talk.
the
Let me talk.
sister was
Let me
telling me
talk.
that that wasn't his baby, so I covered my son up.
what you're trying to tell me is that's one of the things that created doubt in your mind because
It created
when
doubt in my
she-
mind, period, when
When
she
she
started getting text
covered the
messages and shit.
baby up.
Oh my. Ms. Crane disclosed that the bombshell dropped on her at the clinic when she found out the man impregnated her and his ex-wife at the same time. But the dad did not let the mom play and started squabbling with her.
And at the doctor's
She didn't even
appointment,
have
I
a
seen his
car.
wife, and she was pregnant at the same time.
Yeah, they was.
Oh, wait. I thought you
But they
was
wasn't- but they
divorced
wasn't
in
together, though.
2009.
Yeah, but we were separated, though. We were separated.
And then,
We've
Your
been
Honor-
divorced, but we were separated.
And then he said
I mean, me and her
that, oh no,
wasn't
that's
Wait a
together.
minute. Wait a
Me and her
minute.
wasn't
You were
together.
divorced
Yeah, we
from
got
your
divorced,
wife.
but then we still messed around from time
So you
to
got
time.
her pregnant.
During their back and forth bickering, it slipped that the defendant changed her mind and told Mr. Scott that he was not the father of her son and did not even put his name on the birth certificate. So you know you can't unring the bell you rang before.
One day I'm the father, one day I'm not. I ain't been in my son's life in 3 years. Wanna know why?
Because of him.
It's
No.
inconsistency. She won't let me be there.
Okay. Do you understand, at least on this level, why he would have doubt?
Can't
As
have
you were
hickeys
saying to
like that.
him, like, he is the father or he's not the father, or maybe you were angry with him and then you go say.
Finally, Judge Lauren summoned witnesses to square things off, but instead, she entered shouting to her vocal cords in her rage, like he was a bonehead to her. Uh-oh. Seemed like Mr. Scott gotta have huge trouble.
The caliber of a woman would say that.
What kind of woman will get pregnant by deadbeat dad?
Your Honor, he is a snake. He is doing the same thing to
All
me
right,
with my
now.
daughter.
All right,
For real.
again?
You know, don't even do it. Don't even go there.
This your 10th kid? Let's get to order. Have a seat, Mr. Collins.
Don't go there.
You are a deadbeat for real. This gotta be what you did, baby mama. All right. Oh my God.
However, it was evident that a new problem had been raised for the mister, and probably he would have to come again as Ms. Calhoun claimed him as the father of her daughter as well and was demanding a DNA test.
Could you please state your name for the court?
My name is Crystal Kalan.
And Ms. Kalan, can you please tell the court what it is you have to add to this?
He's my daughter's father too. My daughter's 4 months old.
That's your
4
10th
months
kid,
old.
right?
4 months old.
Hey, do the math, man.
10 kids.
Our kids look just alike.
So you claim you also have a child by him, and he's denying paternity?
He wants paternity test. I have it.
Yes.
Nevertheless, it was clear that the witness's testimony flared up the situation as she brought another case for Judge Lauren. And things were to and fro swinging in between, so it was the time to pop up this paternity issue.
Mr. Scott, you are the father. Told you! You seem happy,
Oh yeah, I'm very happy.
and I'm glad.
Very happy.
And now your doubts?
Can I apologize to her? I
You okay,
apologize to
Ms.
you
Crane?
for my assumptions.